Old Dominion. We were both on them against James Madison. I guess I don't know. I don't know which one I want. I mean, I ended up pushing at the counter when I took Old Dominion +3. Right, we both took Old Dominion +3, but we took them to win straight up against James Madison at home there. I, I don't know how Old Dominion. I mean, you score a touchdown late in the game. James Madison kind of was in control of this football game. Like it never really. Maybe early on, you're thinking like, oh, Old Dominion's got a chance here, at home, and this crowd gets into it a little bit. But I Colton Joseph, back to back weeks, very underwhelming performances from him, especially through the air. James Madison, 37 minutes with the football, 233 rushing yards. I mean, they look good. They look like a team that can win the Sun Belt, and there still needs some stuff to happen, right, for that, in order for that stuff to play out the way that they want to. But I'm looking at this and I don't know. I've been high on Old Dominion the last couple weeks. Bet on them the last couple weeks. I think I've been on my counter to like the last 3 weeks. Oh no, they weren't on the week before, but yeah, I 3 of the last 5 weeks they were on my board on the counter. But serious holes on that defensive side of the football, were once again exposed, and Colton Joseph not being efficient, and then 1 of 11 on third down. That's not going to win you football games. The fact that they put up 32 points is wild, and because it's funny because they couldn't buy a friggin' point against App State when they were actually moving the football down the field. And here, they barely scraped 300 total yards of offense and put up 32 points.
It is a little concerning. We've talked about James Madison's defense now and going over them and potentially being a little bit scary in certain spots. And like you said, somehow they put up 32 points. A lot of that was the block punt. I know they had a short field there, but other than that, you had 0 turnovers, 1 for 11 for third down, right?
But Old Dominion did have a turnover, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Old Dominion did, but James Madison did not. And so
Yeah.
there was only one short field. They only had the ball for 22 minutes, and they still put up, 25 offensive points basically on their own. So it was interesting. And in terms of the James Madison team I mean, how good was that team last year? I think it's just a real thing. I'm looking at what Indiana's doing right now, but this was big for them. And with Georgia Southern losing and Marshall still on your schedule, I know that the tiebreakers will get really interesting there, especially if there's a bunch of 2-loss teams. But it's there for James Madison. They're up to 8 wins right now, which is fantastic. Happy for them. Obviously, they got their signature win in North Carolina early in the season, but now that loss to UL Monroe is really looking like it's kind of biting them because they're gonna need some help potentially, and
I
they
think they can get
needed
it,
help.
though. I think they can legitimately get it, though. I mean, if you're looking at the Sun Belt standings, as I'm pulling it up right here, they still get a chance to play Marshall, right? So if they win that game, they have that tiebreaker over Marshall, right? And they'd be 4-2, but also the other tough loss was James Madison losing to Georgia Southern, so you'd have a 3-way tie, and I'm not sure what
So
the
Georgia Southern beat both Marshall and James Madison, so they would.
so they would have a
Like I said, they're
tiebreaker.
going to need some help. Georgia
But they
State,
could
Georgia
get it,
Southern
though.
still plays at Coastal and
Which,
App
by the way,
State.
Coastal's favored in that game, and then App State, and Georgia Southern. The highs and lows of Georgia Southern are remarkable this season. You saw the highs against, team like James Madison, right, and Marshall earlier in the season, Georgia State. Even if you look at that Boise State game, like they looked really good offensively, and then you see the game they played against Troy last week, and you're like, what the actual heck just happened in that game? Where
They've come
JC
from behind
French.
twice now. I mean, if you're James Madison and you were watching that South Alabama game a couple weeks ago, I mean, you got to be just so bad because 20 points, they gave 20 points in the fourth quarter. And so obviously, it's been a fun Sun Belt. Obviously, last year, we talked about it a ton because it was a really competitive, I think, very good conference. We thought it was the best G5 conference out there. And this year, it's not as like elite, especially with Louisiana going down, and losing their quarterback, but it's been really entertaining. And all of a sudden now the West Division gets super, super interesting if Louisiana were to drop another one, because there's a bunch of 2-loss teams there too. So it's been an exciting Sun Belt. We hope our Sun Belt fans have been happy of us previewing them and hopefully giving them good content.